Welcome back, everybody. Welcome to Tarot Journeys with Guy. Glad to see you guys come back. Now, today we are going to unravel our ZODIAC read that we did from the mystery packages. And if you remember, we had these mystery packages that they'd been sealed, and it was a surprise for me, and we opened them all up in sequence over 5 episodes. And so today we're going to unravel it, and we're going to look at a few different things. I mean, we're going to keep sort of on the same page that we started before. But because astrology teaches us to look in the 4 different quadrants of human life, the spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical, right? So we're going to look at different aspects of what's going on. This is also a reading for us, so it's also a reading for me as well, right? And it's also an opportunity for those that don't know so much about astrology to learn a little bit. One of the keys to understanding tarot readings is through astrology. It was kind of interesting because we divided it up, like the first 4 episodes that I put out, the first 4 readings in there with 3 cards were like mini reads for the moment, right? But yet they are also going to apply to this Zodiac world read that we're going to do. Now, if you go back to the other episodes that we had put out, you'll see how at the beginning of the episode, there's a 3-card spread. On the 5th episode, we did the 13th card. So we have one more card, mystery card, to open up. That's going to give us advice when we take a look at the whole spread. Okay, so if you remember, when I had purchased these cards, I had purchased 4 cards in this manila envelope style, right? This beige color. And then the other 10 were in the black envelopes. Now, these are significant in the sense that they represent the cardinal signs or the direction signs, let's say, in astrology. But they also represent the 4 seasonal points, the 2 equinoxes and the 2 solstices. Now, within Western astrology and modern Western astrology, the eastern point will be the beginning of the chart. That eastern point is marked by the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere, the autumnal equinox, let's call it, March equinox. And in astrology and in the Western world, that's the beginning of their calendar, especially in astrology, right? So in astrology, with the correlation of the signs, because each sign has an element, it's represented by an element, through an element, right? And same with the seasons, and it's the same with the cards. The 4 suits of the tarot cards represent the 4 elements in the ancient system, but they also represent the 4 seasonal directions, the 4 cardinal signs as well. The other cards, they all represent a portion of that wheel, right? But here, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So when we drew out the first spread to open up the first cards, the first card, the first manila card that we opened was the 5 of Swords. That draws out our autumnal point, the beginning point of the zodiac. This also represents Aries. And then the second card is the 4 of Cups, which represents Taurus. And the third card represents Gemini, Knight of Cups. Now with this spread, we're going to just keep all of the cards in the right way up. We're not going to necessarily read the reverse, but yet in astrology, especially modern astrology too, the idea of the polarities is a big part of the lesson. And so we always kind of look at both sides. That's how we're going to look at this, right? So that was our first envelope. Our other card here is the King of Swords. This will be the summer solstice. So that's Cancer. So here we are in the solstice. This will be Leo. And the 3 of Swords will be Virgo. Hope you guys are kind of getting what I'm putting down right now. And this spread is kind of a classic spread. A lot of readers use this spread. It's a good tool for learning. It's a good tool for forecasting. It's a good tool for understanding dynamics between people and groups. And it's a good learning tool as well for learning tarot and astrology. Okay, so within the fall equinox zone, Libra, we've got the Three of Pentacles. And then so Scorpio will be the Knight of Wands. And then Sagittarius will be the Sun. Four of Swords fits with our winter solstice and the beginning of Capricorn. And then we have Aquarius, sits the Empress. And Pisces is the Chariot. And if you remember our third card, or our 13th card, pardon me, that sits in the middle. This kind of allows us to read back and forth. And that's kind of how you read astrology, in the sense of you look at the polarities where the opposites will tell each other a dynamic. And so if you put the middle card in, that creates that dynamic that allows you to sort of read a little bit more, right? Because we're talking about the whole zodiac, and we're reading sort of everybody that's coming here to take part in this, which isn't just in one area of the world. This is many different places in the world. There's many different people, right? There's many different aspects to human reality, right? So that's what this is good for. It allows us to look into all the different areas of human life and to get an insight and to get a snapshot, I like to say. Yeah, interesting. So the Six of Pentacles, this card, sixes represent balance and growth, but balance, restoring balance. Interestingly enough, the card itself, he's holding a scale in one hand, and in the other, he's handing out money. So in a way, it is like this in the physical world right now. Things are being balanced, things are being scaled back. People are looking for help. There are others to help each other. We are here to help each other, though. And I think this is kind of what this is about. It's like, because it's difficult. It's really difficult to have an open-minded perception, especially in certain areas where we live, where we're not around like-minded people. We're not always around these people that we see eye to eye, especially after the lockdowns and the pandemic and everything. It's just a lot of things have come to the surface, right? But see, we still need to go and sort of approach this world, but we need to approach it in a balanced way, right? They want us impoverished. When I say they, I'm talking about the deep state, bad actors, the power cabals, the elitists that have come to surface, the Davos groups, the Bilderberg group, the World Economic Forum people that are actively creating this world government system, implementing depopulation projects, let's call it. It's not funny. They're actively trying to shut down a segment of the world economy to impoverish people. And that's what people need to wake up to. Those that have been awakened to it, this is what I'm saying, it's difficult to kind of go in the world with that knowledge, but yet still being reasonable, level-headed, balanced, right? And I think the theme for the next little bit is going to be balance. We need balanced approaches in the world with everything. But like the everyday world is just as important as the big aspects of the world. We were talking about the four elements. So in astrology is kind of interesting because they kind of break it down like spiritual, emotional, mental, and physical. These two aspects, the fire and the cups, the spiritual and the emotional, share an aspect of the spiritual makeup. And the mental and the physical share an aspect of the material makeup.
Notice in the spread too, there's a lot of swords, right? In fact, the three cardinal points are swords, are this mental communication, but also through knowledge, right? But yeah, it's a lot of mental stuff, a lot of, and I mean, this is what we're going through. A lot of us that have woken up to the fact that we are in an information war, and the targets are us, right? And that's a big part of it, right? I mean, awareness with all of this stuff is really key. The more people are aware, the more it falls apart, and that's what's happening. This is helping us prepare and to keep steady and to stay within our space, right? But yeah, a lot of swords, right? And so like, even to the point of like with the Aries energy in the beginning of this chart, it's already a deflection. It's already like a mental sabotage. It's like any kind of creative endeavor or new start is already stifled because of the ramifications of what we've been through and what's being sort of bombarded. It's also rests upon like how people are thinking. It's not easy to pick yourself up after you've fallen or something has been done to you, right? But it's kind of what this is like resilience, right? It's funny, when I first read this, I kind of took it as like taking the swords back, and that is kind of what's happening. Swords, I mean, this kind of thing on YouTube and such as a video, right? This is kind of a sword as well, in the sense of it's of the mind, it's partly communication. I'm communicating with you right now and communicating back and forth through reaction to the video, comments and things, right? And that's kind of what this is. It's like taking back our ability to think for ourselves, to communicate, to express. It's huge. And you can actually take that, if you want to project this reading and use it as a reading for the world or for a year, that's the beginning. That's where we are right now. Okay? So in Taurus is the fixed earth sign. You know, fixed signs work with the cardinal signs in the sense that the fixed signs create the structure. They're very, especially Taurus, feet on the ground, right? Fixed earth sign, this is like the bounty of the earth. This is definitely, earth signs are feminine and the fire signs are masculine, right? So and even with Taurus, right, it's very feminine energy in a sense, right? But also there might be a balance with it. That fixed earth sign, so it's like the structure of the earth, all the things that are a part of our earth. Interesting enough, I talk to a lot of people in the world, and a lot of people are kind of impatient for the next step. They want to see some of the changes. They want to see things kind of happen a little quicker, I think. Because it's sort of like, well, okay, we've been through it. We got through this phase of what we've been put through in the world. So what next? There's another thing too. Breaking false perceptions. That's another thing. So cups, right? So it's interesting. Cups representing the emotional body, the emotional side, but also kind of like the spiritual urge that's within that, the spiritual center that's in the heart. That's what this represents, right? And so it's like some of us have been given this space to sort of prepare our world for the next step, right? That's what this represents. And it's like, it's a very meditative card. It's actually a card, a sign of sort of really checking in with ourselves. But you see though, the hand of divinity is offering this person sitting and meditating, wondering like, well, what's next? Well, it's right before you, right? So it's like people are waiting for something to happen in the material world, but you have to also make it happen, right? That's a big part of it. Now, see, I didn't really talk last time, or like when we were reading this card, right? Because it kind of balances. I probably will talk more when I get over here. See, now what we do is if we look, right, and we take a look at just what I said, instead of waiting to make things happen, especially if we're feeling the calling to go out into the world and to better our worlds around us and to do our part, in whatever way, or to engage this sense of empowerment that we're feeling, or this new, because a lot of us are kind of going through this transformation of self. Knight of Wands is opposing it, action, right? Getting into that action state. Interestingly enough, the Scorpio represents like everything that's hidden underneath as well, right? So that's kind of like what's underneath of it. It's like, meanwhile, while people are being impatient, what that's actually doing is it's lighting that fire that needs to be lit, right? And that's what the wands represent, is the fire. Getting adventurous, not allowing the same old emotional patterns to prevent us from moving forward in some way, shape, or form. A very creative card. Scorpio represents partnerships as well. So it's like, try to get some people on board with you to go and do certain things. Don't hide anymore. Be courageous in yourself and loving in yourself, and only go towards that love in a sense. So that's the Taurus. So that's in our physical world right now. So for many of us, even though it may seem like the world is like super crazy and lots going on, if we look around in our worlds, right, there are a lot of positive and healthy aspects and really good things to maintain and to stick with. Doesn't matter how, where, and what is going on in a person's life. There are those things there. You just have to pay attention. It's like the same thing, like when people are questioning divinity, source, God, however you want to term it, the great mystery, those people are usually given a sign. You ask for a sign, you will be given a sign. That's what this is saying. Ask and you will be given. It's a very emotional time though, right? This is an emotional energy card, right? Where many of us are watching other people kind of maybe unfurl or unravel, and kind of we're just like, whoa, I'm gonna sit back. I'm just like, I don't need to be involved in this. Okay, so like Gemini, same thing. Gemini is the air sign, is the mutable sign. It's the first mutable sign. So, and it shows us how the signs in astrology work, where the earth fixed sign created the structure for the direction, whereas the mutable sign works between the fixed and the cardinal and the directive signs, right? The air mutable sign represents Gemini, represents everything on the everyday level, all the communications, everything that makes the everyday world kind of tick, right? Especially, but it's also like part of our social, like being social, connecting with people. This represents our brothers and sisters. Yeah, and it's just like a very active card, right? And so it's like, that's kind of what people are feeling. It's like, I'm feeling the calling to get active and to connect, right? And so it's funny, and you look at this card, which would be Sagittarius, which represents the higher mind and expansion. It's very active, right? So this is kind of like getting active again. Both of these cards, the Knight of Wands and the Sun, are very youthful energy. It's like restoring that youthful energy, restoring, yeah, that drive, right? But it's like, listen to it. Don't deny it. You'll be amazed what will happen. If you're looking for help, it's there for you. If you are looking, where do I put myself? I feel this calling. It will be there. That's what it is. But many of us need to have fun too. We need to enjoy this. They don't want us doing that. They don't want us creating our world. They want us completely dependent on what is outside of us. That's what's going to help restore the balance, is just like paying attention. Listen to that intuition. If it's telling you, go. Get into the solstice here. Summer solstice, June solstice, because in the southern hemisphere, it will be the winter solstice. And then we've got the King of Swords. So this is a figure. This is a character. This can be, so and when you see the minor arcana court cards, they can represent actual people. So yes, Cancer opposing Capricorn energy, and funny, swords. So a mental card in the sign of emotion. So yeah, that's kind of tricky, right? Because I was kind of alluding to this before. It's like false belief, false perceptions, just or hope, like hopeful perceptions that don't serve in the sense that they're not coming into being, especially around people, around certain other, like especially leaders. I'm not saying do not have faith in some of these people, these leaders, but when being presented stuff on the internet, being presented from the media and what's happening, it's all a theater. That's something to keep in mind, right? But it's kind of messing with people. People need to kind of take charge. Taking charge of your own emotional response to the world, to people, the emotional content that's being picked up, that kind of thing. Bringing it in balance. Cardinal sign, Capricorn represents like the physical world, right? The direction in the physical world. And this is a rest card. So it's like giving us a rest. Some of us are kind of like given a reprieve to sort out what we've been feeling about what's going on and really maybe even paying attention to it a bit more or trusting it. Not having doubts around it, right? This is really important. Very transformative when that starts to take place. In fact, that card kind of represents like a mini transformation in our direction. Yeah, that's an interesting thing, right? So 5th house, Leo, opposed Aquarius, which is the 11th house. Leo represents the fixed sign of fire. So the fixed sign of our will, our spiritual drive. Very creative sign, very bold. Their personalities usually, they have the attention with a Leo is a very important thing. But it's also like the individual versus the group. 5th house represents like romantic exchanges, physical romantic exchanges. Whereas like the Aquarian represents our friends, community, stuff like that, right? It's funny. Leo I take as kind of like an inspiration sign as well. Like it's how we get inspiration. So Judgment, and so we've got major arcana cards right here. So that's kind of an interesting thing. That really shows us that that's a major sort of energy that we're moving through. The group versus the individual, what drives us away from groups, what disempowers us as an individual, what really allows us to go out and be an individual and recognize the group and love it. And see, that's what it is we're being directed towards new groups of people. There's new growth, we're building new things. The Empress, very feminine card, it represents our like the creative energies that are within all of us. Letting go of the past with the Judgment card is also kind of a deal, I think, especially with this. I think it's, it's like unraveling some of the baggage from the past, allowing it to let go. Like I was saying before, if maybe part of the hang up is you do need help with certain areas in life, especially with the material world, especially around money or something, don't be afraid to ask. This is what these new groups are forming, but maybe you've been holding off. Maybe that's part of the sabotage trip, is trying to do everything on your own. That's another thing a lot of people get caught up in nowadays. They got to do everything on their own. Okay, so that was Leo, fixed sign, fire. This is Virgo. Virgo is the mutable earth sign. Virgo is the sign of service, right? It's also health. So it's interesting, the swords. Yeah, we've been lied to. The health thing, that's how they hooked us. 3 swords, many hooks. Swords of the mind, information war, hooked us with the medical fear. Now we've been trying to fight a medical tyranny, and also and that's moved on. But they've got us hooked with the health, some of us. And so it's like so across from that is Pisces. Pisces is the mutable earth or water sign and represents spiritual release in some ways. Right? So funny, Virgo can be like the material release of the material world, and the Pisces can be the spiritual. And so part of it is like activating the will, releasing what hasn't allowed us to be independent, especially with our own health. But also it's just like taking care of our everyday world. Maybe there's parts of our everyday world that we want to have shifted, right? Vision helps with this, having first a vision, but yet we have to kind of overcome the like being hurt and being lied to, because now really people don't trust. So, and it's like restoring trust within self and trusting ourselves allows us to trust what's outside of ourselves. Okay, and so the 7th house, which is Libra, and we get to the autumnal equinox, the September equinox, and that's the 3 of Pentacles, the 3 of coins. And it's funny, they're building a structure, right? It's kind of like what I'm talking about. And Libra represents relationships, our relationship with the world, our relationship with others. Romantic, non-romantic, on every level. It's also a very communicative sign, right? And it represents diplomacy in some ways, right? And so that's what it is. It's like building a new structure. This is a church they're building. This is like a Gothic cathedral and the Gothic arch that was so prominent in the Middle Ages, in the 12th century, 13th century, and when they were building those things in that time period. But this is what's happening. And so we're being called out to take part in this. We all have a part in this. But if we don't engage it, if we don't first kind of go towards it, so if we let, just like how this Aries thing, if we let ourselves feel stifled because of what's happened. Right? Funny how this guy here is holding 3 swords. Well, who put the swords in the heart? You could blame the world all you like, but that's not the truth. The truth is we are responsible. It's part of, 4 agreements. I don't know if people remember that. You can take it for whatever it is, right? But one of the 4 agreements is take full responsibility for your reality. Don't blame anybody on anything. So you're being equipped with new information, new knowledge around health. But we got to get out there. We got to take part. It's exciting. It's actually a very exciting energy. We feel sometimes like we're the people in this card being sort of hard done by, but actually we're this person has taken the swords back. It's taken the swords away from these guys. So, and that's the thing. It's just like, man, we all have gifts. We all have talents to share, right? And that's kind of what this is talking about in the physical world, though. There's many different facets. Some of us might be feeling, just like new jobs, volunteering, getting active with friends, family, community, different things. So much going on. So much going on where I'm living. Like, it's crazy. It's going on all over the world, right? Okay, so Scorpio. And we already kind of looked at that, right? But the passion to live life, to seek, to explore, to get in underneath things. That's key. That's what this is talking about. For some of us that are in partnerships that, and healthy, it might be a steamy time. It might be passionate, which is good. It might be a good time to go on a vacation in that sense. I'm not sure. But this energy is also bringing forth the energy, the vibe, the fire to step forward, to bring forth like this vision, to work in this capacity. Okay, so the Sun with Sagittarius and the Knight of Cups. So Sun, right? It's like restoring that energetic, youthful energy, growth energy. In some ways, this card to me also represents consciousness, Christ consciousness, and allowing that spiritual transmission to come through and to engage in the part of ourselves where we do need to look after and nurture that part, and also sort of like allow it to come forth, right? And to bring it forth, right? And don't, like, it's sort of like a sign, do not stifle your inner youth, I guess is what it is, that youthful energy that's in us, and engage it, right? Get out in the sun, get out in the sun, get in the garden, get your hands in the earth, feet on the ground, face up in the sky, and allow the sun to heal you. Allow the earth and the sun to heal you. Get that energy from that, right? It's like getting back to nature is a little bit of this card, right? Funny, the sunflowers in this card, it's a symbol of, they always face the sun. They don't step away from the sun, right? And it's like, step into the light. Don't deny it anymore. Capricorn, taking a rest. Maybe some of us are actually quitting jobs, finishing major jobs, career changes. Might be going through that. You might be going through a flux, right? Where you want to, you're inspired to bring forth new ideas. Maybe there's more independence coming, I'm not sure. But this respite is there to help you, right? And there is a spiritual calling in this. You need to clear your mind. Clear the mind. Clear the mind of all the garbage and the gobbledygook that's been filled in the subconscious for decades. Clear it. The only way to clear it is to silence the internal dialogue. Meditation, but also kind of like what we're talking about, these different things will also help that. Not being so obsessed in the negative area. So like, you got to stop the negative tape. This is what's going to help. This is what it's all about, right? And huge growth within friendship groups right now. People are really wanting to connect with one another. People have to do it because this is what is going to preserve human life, right? And if we access that nurturing side in us to nurture these things a little bit better, this is what has changed in our time. It's our relation with one another. This is what has fundamentally changed. Okay, and so the spiritual warrior, the chariot card, is in the position of spiritual release, and that's what's required. Many of us have been shown the way. We've been given tools and allowed our gifts to come forward to cut away some of these things that no longer serve us, to cut away some of the cords of our past lives, of the trauma, of the hurt. And that's what's happening. That's what's helping restore the balance, right? So it's like, yeah, we're getting this kind of understanding, right? So, and it's funny, I wasn't really picking up anything in the world with this. This is just more preparation for us in the world to kind of move forward and to keep going on, right? And like I said, take a snapshot, take a still, and look at it with the astrology, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, and onward. But also this is like right now, and this will be in a year, it'll come back, right? So in 2 months, this card is going to come up. 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, 11 months, 12 months. And so, and with the swords, what a lot of it, and if you paid attention to some of the readings that I already had put out, and we talked about this, is that they're going to be throwing all sorts of smoke at us. And a lot of it isn't real, right? And they're just going to try to ramp up what they're doing right now. They've got psyops ready. One of them, I think, is definitely a war. They really want a war. These war hawks and these freaks in the EU, and like, man, yeah, because they're drumming it up, and it's not working though. See, and this is the thing. It's like, people don't want this. Nobody wants this. This world can be a peaceful, beautiful place in the sense of all humans being together, working towards creating that beautiful world and fulfilling it, and to keep like maintaining it. But the human family needs to heal. Humans fighting humans is just completely ridiculous. And that's kind of what's being activated. We're sort of being prepared to sort of offset those energies and awaken to them, because like, awareness is key. Awareness dissolves a lot of this stuff, right? And that's kind of what is needed for us that are kind of more aware, levels of awareness. We're to be out in the world and to share this with people, because people are becoming more aware. That's what's going to stop it. Oh yeah, that's right. We have the one last card that gives us the advice, and this will be the end of it, right? So here I am opening it. Almost forgot about it. Holy cow. Oh, this is a great card. This is fantastic for the advice. We've got the old Nine of Pentacles. Good things coming in the material world. That cord of independence, but also being able to be cooperative with people and financial, right? So man, one of the things they're throwing at us is financial thing, coins, and it's just not going to happen. Something else is happening and they don't want us completely tuned in. And so meanwhile, while we've been worrying about all this stuff, you haven't been manifesting the world, physical world that could happen for you, right? And that the abundance is there. Abundance is now. And that's kind of what this card is saying. It's like, go out towards that abundance. Abundance spiritually, abundance emotionally, abundance mentally, abundance physically. But when we're talking about abundance, healthy abundance, in balance. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for staying tuned and taking part of this Zodiac read. Make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, share this on different social media platforms. This is how we're going to get over the censorship. And like the video. And I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.